Hey, welcome back to See Today Business. Around 2030 to 2040, Indonesia is projected to experience a demographic bonus, which presents a strategic opportunity to achieve Golden Indonesia 2045 by accelerating regional development and creating productive jobs supported by quality human resources. So what does Golden Indonesia 2045 look like from a business perspective? And what is the business outlook for 2024? To talk more about that, joining me today in the studio is the Indonesian Employers Association, or Aindo Chairman, Shinta Kamdani. Good afternoon, Bu. Thank you so much for joining us today at See Today. Now, let's start with this. Aindo Survey shows that 58% of businesses are interested in expanding this year alone. Now, how do you see the growth prospect of corporate sector this year?
Yeah, so I think let me give you a background first. What did we do with the survey? So actually last year, and this is done every 5 years. Aindo, which is the Indonesian Employers Association, we conduct prepare a roadmap, economic roadmap for the next government. So every 5 years we do this, and the roadmap actually consists of inputs from business perspectives on cross-sectoral and sectoral issues. And this last year, in 2020, end of last year, we did a survey of about more than 2,000 companies in our members, and also the companies in Indonesia. And also the survey reflected some of the, what you mentioned, the elements, for example, on how they see business are doing today. So the question about that, why business still see that they still want to expand. So 50% of them see that they still have confidence on expansion. However, the survey also say that 72% of them say that there is a much slowing down in the growth of their business. So only grow less than 5%, right? So while they still have optimism that they want to expand, but the current condition actually of the business is not very good. And I think this is something that we have to very much pay attention. We are now undergoing another election. We just Indonesia just completed election. We're going to have a new government. So I think the whole condition of 2024 also reflected how the sentiments are. I mean, we look at the economic condition right now, it's very uncertain, right? I think we've been talking about uncertainty. I mean, there's projections of growth this year between 4.8 to 5.2%, right? Some more pessimistic, some more optimistic. But overall, we know the condition is not good. I mean, geopolitical, there's still a big conflict, in Ukraine, Russia, while also in the Middle East, as you know, with Israel, Palestine. Also, we look at this impact the fragmented supply chain. So this is really a big issue for businesses right now. And besides that, we also look at how the El Nino is also impact us in terms of food supply and so forth in many countries as well. So there are a lot of conditions, I think globally, that we need to be watched for. Japan just mentioned about recession, right? There are many countries, UK, I mean, China even doesn't grow as high as they expect. So we've seen that in general, I think the condition globally is not good. So this is something that even though there are still optimism of expanding for the current business in Indonesia, but they also see that the current economic outlook globally is not good.
Now, it's interesting that you mentioned about the election that we just went through, but at the same time, it's going to take time until the new government takes place at the end of the year. But what does the new government need to do or need to plan for the next 5 years for the Indonesian Golden 2045?
Yeah, so we actually have a few areas that I think needs to be paid attention. I think the first when we always talk about legal certainties, we talk about the conducivity of the business climate in Indonesia. That's really, really key because as you know, Indonesia already went through the structural reform through the Undang-Undang Cipta Kerja, the Omnibus Law, and that's supposed to really cut down many of the over-regulated, a lot of the licensing and so on to become more effective. But in actuality, on the implementation, there's still a big gap. So that's really an area that I think government in the next 5 years needs to pay attention how we can continue reform with the proper implementation on the ground. The second, I think, when we also need to understand that Indonesia is not standing alone. Our industrialization is very, very key. We're talking about hilirisasi, always, right? Added value, we don't want to just export commodities. But we also need to understand that this industrialization needs to happen, both not just the downstream, but also the upstream. Why? Because 70% of our raw materials are still imported. So we are very much dependent on other countries. And therefore, I think the industrialization in Indonesia needs to really be to work. I mean, we know Indonesia wants to implement more local content and so forth, but we need to prepare all this, right? So I think this will be a key area. The third aspect, I think we talk about both trade and investment as drivers. So we know that household consumption is the biggest, it's 53%, but still we still have to rely on export, on investment, on state expenditure, right? So I think in terms of export and investment, this is something that government needs to really pay attention to come up with the right policies and incentive. And I think this is something, business are really hoping for the right policies in place. The fourth area, I think we need to understand that human capital development is key to the future of Golden Indonesia 2045. This is really, really key. Because in order for us to achieve that, we need to understand that we need to have the right human capital structure, right? And as you know, we are still low-skilled labor, and although now we're going into technology and adaptation of technology, but I think we are not yet in the right place for our growth. So that's also, I think, an important part. And I think the last aspect is we have to understand that in the future, we're going into sustainability. This is a key driver for Indonesia on sustainability. So anything we are going into the green economy, green businesses, to become Indonesia, Golden Indonesia, I think we need to pay attention how Indonesia can implement more sustainable projects. We talk about renewable energy, we talk about sustainable infrastructure, transportation, electric vehicle, many areas that I think will be very, very important for the future.
All right, I want to talk so much about the technology, but let's move on to this first. Now, there are four priority agendas that during your chairmanships in Aindo, such as strengthening employment, empowering MSMEs, and that absorbs 97% of Indonesia workforce, increasing investment, and active role of Aindo policy advocacy. So how's that going so far during your presidency?
I think it's doing very well. I think we are very clear that the four missions that we are focusing now, I think on the SMEs development is definitely key. We have what we call a priority program called the UMKM Merdeka, because our focus is not just developing UMKM or SMEs, but also make sure that they go to the next level. We call it UMKM naik kelas, right? That's a very, very important aspect. So we have been driving through a working pentahelix with the government, with also the the academia, the universities, and also the big companies to provide also mentorships and so forth. So this is something that's been running quite, I think it's for us, the ecosystem needs to be built. So I think the small businesses can also be part of the supply chain of the big businesses. So we talk about SMEs, we talk about starting from how they establish from the production side all the way to penetration of the market, so their market access. We also talk about financing for them, So this whole, I think, ecosystem needs to work. And then I think we have, as you know, Aindo has been promoting on the stunting program, supporting the government. This is also something that is very, very crucial because I think we know that 68% of Indonesia, based on the research, shows it's malnutrition. Yeah. And stunting is a very, very big issue because we have to capture the first 1,000 days. So we believe this is a really key to support Indonesia in terms of reducing the prevalence of stunting. The target of the government is 14%. Besides that, the roadmap, I think we have completed now. We have done the dialogue with each of the candidates before. Now we are working with the economic team of the future government so that we can start preparing, how the transition will be and our inputs from the business. So roadmap is very, very key for us to have for the transition of the government. And I think we continue working on human capital development, on training, upscaling, rescaling, a lot of vocational training and so forth. We also work with our counterpart, the labor unions, and so it's not just about industrial relations, but it's also upgrading capacities and knowledge.
All right. So one last thing. So you mentioned like some of the challenges and like there's so many sectors that get involved in this. What are the challenges and what kind of the solution that we can do to achieve that Indonesia must in 2045?
Yeah, I think definitely right now, my biggest concern, I would say, is the creation of jobs in Indonesia. If we want to grow, if we become Indonesia must to begin with, we have to grow the economy for about 6 to 7%. Right now, with this kind of average growth of 5%, definitely is not sufficient, right? On the other hand, we have also a bonus demography right now. That only lasts another 10 years. Okay. Another 10 years. That means to become this bonus to be utilized, we really need to do things fast, right? Yes. Now, with the technology and digitalization right now, the future of work is very different. It's very different because right now what we see is we need less people for the job, right? So if we look at the investment that comes into Indonesia for the last 7 years, there is already a decrease of about a quarter in terms of the absorption of labor. So that means now for an investment or every 1 trillion investment, there's less jobs that's available. So this is really the key. That means we cannot, first of all, we cannot rely only from the industry. We have to create our own job through the SMEs, okay, right? Through entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurship is a very big key. So this is something that I think we have to pay attention. So I always say this: we have to work hand in hand. First, how we can create more entrepreneurs. Second, how we can put the SMEs to naik kelas, ya kan, go to the next level. But the third aspect, which is important, is the whole manpower transformation. Yes. This needs to happen, right? Yes. Because the future of work is different. The kind of skills that is needed is different. We need more digital literacy, things. So I think this all needs to happen at the same time, and for us to be able to also create more jobs in Indonesia, because this can also become a social issues. Yeah. If we don't have enough job, it will become a social
issue. As you mentioned earlier, 6 to 7% economic growth to create that more jobs and then more entrepreneurs and all, and then it's gonna create that Indonesia Golden of 2045. Bu Shinta, thank you so much for sharing with us here at C today. I hope we have more time. I hope we see you again here next time, sooner than later. Thank you so much. With that, we're going for a break. When we return, our daily recap from the stock market you don't want to miss. We'll be right back.